Okay, welcome guys. I'd like to thank all of you who have already showed up on time. We're just going to wait 1 minute to give everyone else who might be struggling a little bit to a chance to join us, but we will be starting the webinar shortly. Okay, let's get started in that case. Thank you all for joining us today and welcome to this live training session from Lumu. We will be looking at streamlining detection, response, and SecOps as a live demo and training. In a moment, Nikki will be getting started with the actual live demo. But before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items. First of all, we will be using the Q&A feature and the webinar chat feature in Zoom for this training session. So if you have any questions, you can either add that to the Q&A feature or just type it into the webinar chat. Secondly, we are also recording this session. So we will be sharing it with you afterwards, and you're welcome to share it with any of your colleagues or teammates if you so choose. So again, thank you very much for joining us and welcome. So before I hand over to Nikki, just a quick overview of what we do here at Lumu. At Lumu, we believe that the network is the ultimate source of truth for the state of compromise of your system. And modern networks are complex. You have your own on-premise network. There's the cloud networks. It's hybrid. There are multiple different types of devices connected there, and each one of these devices is constantly producing noise and talking to you about like what it is seeing. Um, and many of our customers find it difficult to basically parse through all this information, analyze it, and then confirm whether there is a compromise in the network. And Lumu really helps you to do that in an automated fashion that basically goes through the whole procedure of detection to response as a world-class SOC operation. So let's take a quick look at just what that looks like. As I said before, we collect network metadata on the left over here. Many of our customers find that they can set that up themselves through a Lumu free account and by using our docs to basically point that metadata to Lumu. But we also have engineers available who will help you through that process and help you set it up. It doesn't require any physical devices to be deployed. And then once we collect that network metadata, we basically analyze it in the cloud over here. We compare it to many different sources of IOCs, um, malicious IPs, hashes, and so forth to determine if there is contact with malicious infrastructure. We also employ AI and machine learning to determine if there's an anomaly that might be going on. But we don't stop there. We also confirm that anomaly to see if it's actually if it's benign or malicious in nature. And the next step over here is to automate responses to the cybersecurity stack. So when we determine that there's an incident, we will speak to your firewall or to your EDR and make sure that that malicious contact is stopped immediately so you can respond. So yeah, we have many different integrations available, and I think Nikki will be covering some of those newer integrations today, so that in the end you can be sure that that the malicious incident is blocked. At each stage of this process, we show what's happening in the Lumu portal, so you can follow along. Very often, this whole process takes milliseconds. But in today's session, Nikki is going to show us what that looks like in the Lumu portal. So, Nikki, I'm going to hand it over to you here. Take it away.
All right, thank you, Julian, for the introduction and for talking a little bit about what we do here at Lumu. As Julian mentioned, I'm going to walk you guys through Lumu Portal, just kind of put some of that Julian talked about and kind of show you what that looks like within the Lumu Portal and kind of what day-to-day cybersecurity operations look like within Lumu. But I think it's been a bit since we talked about just the basics and how everything works, how everything kind of comes together. I think one of the really unique things about Lumu is the fact that so much is done through the Lumu platform, the Lumu portal, that is. As Julian talked about earlier, we are a SaaS first integration. And so that's kind of one of the great things, is that everything can be found here in the Lumu portal. Everyone gets access to their own Lumu portal environment. So I want to talk a little bit about how things get set up. How is it that we ingest all of that metadata? How do all of these things come together so we can get that complete picture of the network through our collectors? And then how do we, automate the response and the actions with the tools in the cyber stack? What that kind of looks like, and then just other features that make the day-to-day operation of Lumu, that much more efficient, and it makes Lumu really work for you. So I first want to start, when you log into the portal, this is typically what you're going to see. It's your overview tab. It's the first thing that you're going to see when you log in. Just gives you a high level summary of everything. But to start at the very beginning and to start by, first of all, collecting metadata from the network and getting a picture of what the network looks like, you're going to set up metadata collectors. That's really step one in implementing Lumu. So we have different collectors for different environments, right? These are all of the different options that we have available. We have gateways, so it's almost like a DNS forwarder option that you have here. We have virtual appliances, which are great. Just kind of depending on your organization, how it's structured, and what makes most sense for you. We try to give you all of these different collectors as options to be able to visualize the network, and make sure that you have visibility into that. So for the virtual appliances, we have VirtualBox, VMware, Hyper-V. We have all the different options to set that up. And then once you set up, with any integration, with any collector that you see here in the portal, you're going to be able to view and manage and see the status of that collector once it's set up here within the portal. So, and just in this example, you can click here, see that this one's active. It is collecting metadata, and then these are the different collectors associated with it. We also have log forwarders. So this is another metadata collection option that you have available, just to use the log forwarders. And then we have agents. So we have different agents available, endpoint agents available for you depending on your environment. We have them for Chrome, Linux, Mac, Windows Server. I think one of the more unique ones is our Chrome application installer here, our Chrome metadata collector. So having visibility into the Chrome OS devices, I think that's one of the things that lately we've been seeing. It's a newer one. Over the last maybe a few months or so, we've had this one available, and it's one that our customers really appreciate, because I think especially in the education space, and our customers in the education space have been commenting on this particular agent, because you're able to get that visibility into the Chrome devices, right? Especially in schools where I think a lot of the time students tend to have the Chrome devices. This particular collector has been especially helpful. I think, students sometimes take their devices home with them. So being able to have that visibility across those student devices, that's been incredibly beneficial. And I think like the bulk deployment as well, the way that you're able to deploy this collector across the different Chrome devices is extremely helpful too. It's quite intuitive. With everything that you see in the portal, there's documentation on how to do things, and you can always click here. Generally speaking, this documentation is usually linked within or somewhere within the screen of the feature. So for the example of the Chrome agent, you have all of the instructions here. It's actually very, very intuitive. And again, sort of that bulk deployment option is really helpful here, especially with student devices and things like that, or just I say student devices and education because those are the customers that have been commenting about this installer the most to us, or this agent the most to us. And again, all the instructions are right here, but at Lumu, you always have your dedicated team that helps you set these things up. So it's not super complicated, and it's all really well documented here in our docs as well. So I think it's just a standout feature. Just wanted to kind of highlight it a bit today and talk about how it's helping other customers kind of get that visibility, not only, in the example of schools at the school, but when students may take their device home, and so forth. So it's just a newer one, and one that I kind of wanted to call out during our overview today. But any agent that you have here, any agents that you have deployed or set up, can be managed and viewed within the agents section here. You're going to see all of the different agents. You can click on them, see which endpoints, so on and so forth. So this is where really all of the deployment and management takes place. It's very intuitive. It's very easy to access and to implement, and all of your different collectors, server collectors here as well. And then lastly, we have our API, which of course, We can collect metadata from any other third-party application that you might have via API. So that's another collector option that we have. So basically, once your collectors are set up, you'd want to move on to integrations. So integrations can also be done via API for response. And we also have these apps, which are our out-of-the-box integrations. Now, there are some out-of-the-box integrations that are for data collection. So it kind of just goes off of the collectors that we just saw, but these happen to be out of the box, meaning only a few steps and you activate this integration to collect metadata from these different environments, a lot of the main cloud providers and things of that nature. So it's all, again, done right here through Lumu portal. You activate the integration, you enter the name, you can assign it a label to view traffic from that particular integration and to label it as according to basically the area of the business. But basically from there, what you're going to do is you're going to enter a key and it's activated. These integrations are meant to be very easy to set up, just a couple of steps. Again, it's all done from right here from the Lumu portal. So it's very straightforward, pretty seamless. I think that's one of the benefits to the out of the box for data collection. And then we have some for response and SecOps. So we have these for response. If you remember back Julian's visual, he was talking a little bit about how Lumu works from collecting the metadata, confirming compromise or something malicious that happened in the network, and then automating that response with any response tools that you may have. So here you're going to see all of the different integrations where you can initiate automated response with any of the tools that you have in your cyber stack. So they're all available here. Again, it's done from within the portal. You'll have a key that's going to link it to your tool, and then basically the integration is set up. It's rather quick, pretty straightforward. And that's really one of the biggest benefits with our out-of-the-box integrations. We have more integrations for data collection, response, and SecOps that maybe you don't necessarily see in the portal, but we do have them. They're just not necessarily out of the box. But these are the ones that you see here in the portal. These are the ones that are out of the box, just a couple steps and you're done. So that's kind of the difference between what you're seeing here and what you may see in our docs or other materials. Lastly, your SecOps integrations. This is going to be with collaborative tools like maybe Google Chat, Microsoft Teams, ConnectWise, Sentinel, QRadar, your SIEMs, things like that. So this is where you can send anything that Lumu finds, any incident data, all that can be sent to collaborative tools and SecOps tools that you may have. All right, those are really those are the main steps in setting up Lumu. Activating your collectors, and then of course activating your integration so that anything that's found in the network can be responded to automatically or can be collaborated on automatically with existing tools. And kind of just like you saw in the collectors, anything that you've configured can be viewed and managed here. So any configured applications, any existing integrations that you have configured will be seen here. All right. So moving along, I want to talk a little bit about incidents. Now, Lumu, again, is meant to be very intuitive, very easy to operate. The majority of our customers are spend most of their time in the incidents tab, because this is really where you can see something that we found in the network that was malicious, and you can get all the information about what happened there, how your tools have automatically responded to it, and what actions have been taken from there. So basically, any incident, anything malicious that we find across the network is going to be seen here. Now, you can filter this. You can see, we have some general operation metrics up here that just kind of help you understand what's open, what's been automatically responded to, and then just general operational metrics. So, SecOps teams like to use this to kind of gauge efficiency and looking at incidents and in response times, things like that. So these metrics sometimes can be helpful to teams that are trying to track progress. Everybody has their different priorities and different ways that they want to manage security operations. So I think these kind of metrics and understanding resolution times, things like that, are helpful for teams that are looking to track efficiencies and things of that nature. But for the most part, teams spend a lot of time just kind of in the incident details, looking at what's the newest incident that's been found. I think one of the good things here is that you can filter by the type of threat that you're looking for, maybe different endpoints that have been involved, certain labels or areas of the business that have been affected. So it's intuitive, it's easy to find things that you need to find. And then every single incident has a ton of, information in there. So there's nothing that you necessarily need to do or take action on, but these incidents are here and they have, all the information that you need really to act on them and to kind of understand what happened and what actions were taken by your cyber stack. So I'm going to start with this incident here, this first one here. This is the IOC. This is the malware family it's associated with. And then this particular threat looks like command and control and malware associated. I'm going to click on the incident so we can just take a deeper dive there. So this is where you're going to get all of the context and everything that's happened since this IOC was found making contact in the network with different endpoints. And basically, here's the IOC. Again, the same description that you have here, the status of the incident. Open just means that someone in the team has opened or read the incident, so it's already been looked at. And then to the right here, you have an operation timeline, which again, I think SecOps teams like to have this timeline to understand, okay, when was this threat first found in the network? And that's going to give you an idea of where it started. It started with this endpoint, and that's the name of the endpoint. Now, you're going to see which collector came from. So you're seeing sort of the progress here. Then what happened? The automated response took place, and it was orchestrated with these tools. And then the cybersecurity operator read it. So you see all the kind of different steps that have been taken and the actions that have been taken. This incident is open. Again, this is a demo account, so it's just to really show you what you can expect to see here and what that looks like. But you can take actions on any incident, right? Like a lot of times you can start working the incident, so you label it as maybe someone in the team wants to work on it or kind of track the progress that way. You can mute the incident to keep it open, but just not really get alerted if there's any more contact there, if it's maybe a known contact and you're not worried about it. You can close the incident as well, so you don't see this incident anymore. But I think another feature that people like here is the ability to comment, especially for SecOps teams. Maybe you want to investigate further, or maybe you just want to comment that you've already closed the incident. In this case, I'm just going to I'm going to comment investigating further just for our demo purpose. And then you'll see basically that comment is left here by this cybersecurity operator. So here under detections, you're going to see the different endpoints that have been involved with this particular IOC and that have been in contact with this IOC. As you can see from the first threat contact, even on the right, and then right here under endpoints affected on the left, this was the first endpoint to be in touch with this particular IOC. And if you click on that, you can get more details about, what it is that happened 343 times in contact with that IOC. That's a high number, usually something unusual. Of course, having the automated response means that this threat was blocked. It doesn't escalate any further. That's really the action that took place. There's nothing that necessarily needs to be done from the cybersecurity operator's perspective. But I think having the ability to investigate and understand these threats is probably the biggest benefit here. You can also see more details if you really want the technical, packet data, more detailed data. You have it here. But that's kind of the breakdown. It gives you all the endpoints, details about the endpoints, IPs, so on and so forth. So every incident also has a tab that's called the highlights tab. This particular tab here is just going to talk to you a little bit about the behavior. Again, this is a lot about like timelines, when things took place, when that first contact took place, how long the incident's been open, how long it took to respond to it. So with that automated response integration, with the automated response integrations that it had activated, 22 milliseconds, it's pretty good response time to immediately stop contact and stop that threat. So this talks more about kind of what happened behind the scenes and timelines, and then also labels affected. Labels is basically a way that organizations can label network traffic so that they can say, all right, this traffic came from the OT environment. That traffic came from the admin environment. So that's just, again, it's just a way for them to understand and see what areas of the business have been mostly affected there. And then attack distribution is just another way to visualize contact patterns with the different devices that were involved and with the different labels that were involved there. And same with the contact pattern here too. It's just another way to see contact patterns in the network. So you can select or unselect days of the week to visualize this differently. Email intelligence is here, and if there's anything relevant related to emails, that's going to be shown there. And then we have our threat intelligence tab, which is going to provide as much threat intelligence as we can related to this particular IOC. So first with the threat triggers, it's going to show you here any IOCs that are related to this particular threat actor. So that sometimes helps teams be proactive and say, all right, well, maybe I don't want our organization to be in contact with anything related to this threat actor. So it's good to have this information. And the same thing goes with the hash files, the binaries that you have here as well. So we try to give you as much related threat intelligence to be able to better contextualize and understand the threat. We also have this related resources section, which is going to have third-party articles. It's going to talk a bit about the threat so that you can kind of understand what it is that's targeting you and what you're up against there. And then lastly, every incident has the attack matrix. So you're going to be able to see the different tactics and techniques that attackers use to carry out this threat and that are associated with this threat. So it's just a good way to understand the ways that basically your organization is being targeted. So every single step related to this particular incident is laid out here. It's going to give you the name, talk about the different platforms there. And then it's going to give you a bit of a description and a write-up. Any related links or anything like that will also be included here, and it will take you there as well. The other thing about our incidents is that everything can be exported. So you have the ability to export this as a STIX report. You can also export the contacts, endpoints affected, just to have that for your records, if you need it. You can also email a report of this particular incident. We have, Lumu has reporting as well outside of just the specific incidents. But if you want a report about this particular incident and the details of it, you can create that right here. All right, and that's really the incidents. All incidents are structured the same way. It just depends on the threat, the kind of context, and that kind of information that you're going to have there. And so that's kind of how our cybersecurity operators navigate incidents and how they understand them. Again, nothing major, no huge lift on your part of anything that you need to do. The having those automated integrations, I mean, you can see the response time in milliseconds just makes all the world of difference in having a solution that's working for you. All right, so next I want to move on to another feature today. We've talked about in past trainings, but I think it's good to kind of highlight these things and talk a bit about them. We saw the MITRE attack matrix within the incident, and I think that helps you understand how specific incidents are behaving and how that particular incident behaved. But I think kind of at a higher level and kind of taking a step back, we have this feature called the global MITRE attack matrix. And what this does is it helps you understand, at a high level, how it is attackers are targeting your organization and the top tactics and techniques that they're using. So within the incident, we saw, the MITRE information for that threat actor. But here in the global matrix, you're going to be able to see, overall, based on all of the incidents, based on all of the malicious activity that we're seeing in your network, what are the tactics and techniques that attackers are using most against your organization? I think this feature helps you be really proactive. And what it does is it shows you that, right? So in this example, you're seeing the tactic execution and the Windows command shell as the top tactic and technique being used against your organization. So people like to use this as a way to kind of understand maybe there are some ways or some gaps that we can fill or things that we can address proactively to prevent this from happening further. So all of the tactics and techniques are linked here so you can understand further. It's also going to be linked to MITRE attack, but you can understand more about it. And I think that's one of the great things about the Lumu portal is that everything is kind of easy to understand. Everything's linked. So if you do want to be proactive from a SecOps perspective and kind of bettering your security controls and having kind of things adjusted according to how you're being attacked, I think that makes a lot of sense, and that's something that's quite helpful. And then you can learn more here about Windows Command Shell too. So it helps you kind of understand what you're up against and how to better protect against it in the future. And there's two different views here. So you're going to see the list view here, and then we have a heat map, which is nice for visuals. This heat map can also be downloaded. So if you need it for a presentation or something like that, or a more tactical conversation, I think that it's helpful to have that feature here as well. All right. There's another feature I want to talk a bit about, our security archive. I wanted to touch on this one in the training because it's been a bit, I know we've maybe talked about it in other sessions, but I wanted to dive a little bit more into it today and kind of show you what the experience looks like. So basically, one of the things that we have at Lumu is the ability to collect the network traffic logs for your organization for up to 2 years. I think some of you are familiar with playback, which it looks at that metadata for up to 2 years to see if there's any new contact with a malicious actor who maybe was in contact with before, looking 2 years back. But basically, with those traffic logs, those network traffic logs that we're storing, we have now added this feature of the portal where you can query those traffic logs and where you can actually download them if you need to for forensic investigations, and to just look back and see contact patterns with particular endpoints or with particular destinations, as well. So all of that can be done right here in the Lumu portal. It could be downloaded from the Lumu portal. A lot of our customers have been able to offload the majority of their SIEM costs. I think one of our customers offloaded 90% of their SIEM costs just using this because they were really using the SIEM for compliance purposes and just to have something in place to collect the logs and just to be able to check that box. So the Lumu traffic log archive is a really helpful feature, and you're able to fulfill that compliance requirement of collecting and storing the logs and being able to query those logs as well. So here you're able to search by a destination or by a particular endpoint, and then you can put a date range here to look back. So in this case, we'll go by destination in this example, and then we'll select a date range here. And then, so here you're going to see, in this example, you're going to see the traffic for that destination. You're going to see the activity over time, and then you can request your export. Once you request the export, it takes a minute or so, but it's going to look something like you see below. And you're going to be able to see all of the different files, and that's where you're going to be able to download those files to see the records of contact with that destination. You can also search by endpoint during a time period, same as I showed you in the search. So this is really where you can, download those and you can investigate by day. It's all broken down by day as it is right now, up to 15 days. And then that's going to look something like you see here. Once you download the CSV file, you have the information you need, again, for forensic purposes, for kind of those, investigative purposes. You're going to be able to look back and extract and download that data that you need. So just another feature, again, I wanted to highlight today, something that's really helpful to a lot of our customers and that I think has helped a lot of our customers save money, especially when it comes to the more regulated industries, healthcare, so on and so forth, those who need to, for compliance requirements, store their logs. And yeah, I think that's, those are the main kind of features I wanted to cover today. I know I wanted to talk a little bit about SecOps and kind of that strategic value, but also, wanted to end it on this particular feature because it's something that, our customers have been giving us a lot of positive feedback about lately, and that has helped, from that compliance standpoint. If you haven't already submitted your questions, please do using the Q&A feature. You can also submit them through the chat. That's okay too. We'll go through that. But yeah, I think we will open it up to questions.
All right, thank you so much for that, Nikki. Well, doesn't look like we have too many questions at this stage, just 5 so far. Let me just pause up. So first question here is about pricing. So how is Lumu priced?
Yeah, so Lumu is priced per endpoint or per asset.
And we're fairly transparent about the pricing. So you can look at, I think it's just lumu.io/pricing. You can find everything you need over there. Is there a free trial or proof of value process?
Yeah, so we actually have, well, there's both. So there is a, proof of value or a process that you can go through to experience all of Lumu if you get in contact with us, but you can also just open a Lumu free account. We have Lumu free as something that it's free forever. It's something that you can use always. The only difference is that you're going to just have the network visibility, but not necessarily those response integrations and all like the detailed features that you saw today. You're just going to be able to see malicious contact in the network and threat actors that are making contact in the network.
Okay, how quickly can an organization start seeing value after deployment?
Immediately. So yeah, the way Lumu's set up is basically the process that Julian was talking about, that illumination process. Once you have your collector set up, anything malicious that's happening in the network will be automatically created as an incident and automatically see value. Once your collectors are set up, you're going to see network activity and you're going to see anything potentially malicious as well.
Here's another question from Carl. Is the traffic log set up right out of the box?
It is, yeah. It's part of Lumu Defender. So since Lumu is already collecting those network traffic logs, it's set up once your collectors are set up.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I understand the question correctly, but it does require a little bit of configuration just to make sure that the network metadata is being pointed at us and we're collecting it correctly. Um, but yeah, it's a fairly simple process. Um, next, what integrations are available out of the box?
Yeah, so integrations out of the box. Let me go here, integrations, apps. This is where you can see all of those. So for data collection, to see the full list, we'll just scroll here. These are the out of the box ones that we have, AWS, Cisco Umbrella, Google Cloud, Outlook. So those are the collection out of the box ones. Response out of the box integrations are the ones that you see here in the Lumu portal. And then for our SecOps out of the box integrations, it's these here. Now we have other integrations too. They're not necessarily out of the box. They just require, a few more steps. But these are the ones that are just like a couple of steps out of the box, meaning just super easy to configure. The other two just have a couple other steps that are involved.
All right, and then the last question we have here, unless anyone has any more questions, is the log archive included in the NDR offering or is it extra?
So as of right now, the Lumu archive is included in our Lumu Defender subscription. So it is included in the NDR right now.
2 year standard.
Yep.
Hmm. Okay, it looks like that's those are all the questions we have for today. Thank you again, Nikki, for the presentation, and thank you to everyone who joined us today. I found that quite insightful.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. See you in the next one. Bye.